So, good morning, everybody, and welcome back to the Free Agent Podcast, where the discussion is all about free agency and taking control over your future. The mission of my show is to share inspiring conversations with real people who took the leap into self-employment, business ownership, franchising, and freedom. From corporate refugees and executives tired of the desk job to entrepreneurs and investors looking to share camaraderie and inspiration through their business journey, my podcast aims to point a spotlight on real people who stepped into the unknown, took control of their destiny, and became their own boss. So the conversation today is going to be a little bit different from what I just read to you. While I'm normally interviewing people who are business owners, today I invited a good friend of mine, Julie Silverman, who is a commercial insurance agent who works in the franchise industry specifically and has had a lot of contact with business owners who are kind of an interesting group of people. We both live in the world of franchising, and I thought Julie would have an interesting perspective to share about what's been happening during the pandemic with people and their business owners, their companies and their insurance needs, and what just some of the human foibles and quirks of business owners that she has observed over all the years that she has been working with business owners. So Julie, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me today.
So Julie and I have known each other for a few years. We met through the Northern Illinois Franchise Association. We both attended a quarterly meeting. And I mention this because Julie is really the inspiration for my nickname of the franchise fashionista. So we are fellow fashionistas and we could talk about fashion today, but why don't we talk about something near and dear to your heart? And that is the business owners with whom you are working. Over the last, I guess we're in month 8 now, right? With this pandemic, are there any personality traits or characteristics that you see in your clients, your business owners, where you're seeing some jittery behavior, some fear about what's going on?
Well, yes, I mean, there's a big mix, obviously, but there is a fear of just the business owners making sure that, they can get to the next phase here or get through the next phase that we have. And then how are they going to do that effectively, but while still retaining their revenues and also, they're concerned with their coverages as far as the insurance goes, because a lot of times, you think that everything is okay. And until something monumental comes up, that's when you find yourself, you could be in big trouble if you don't have some of the right coverages. So a lot of things have really bubbled up to the surface during this time period for business owners, such as, are they insured properly with their property? The fact that they were closed for X amount of time, there's definitely issues that they can encounter even if it's a government shutdown. What do they do about, the loss of business, as well as, if there are issues that come up while the location is closed. Also issues is, with the furloughing of their employees, you run into so many different areas there where they can be challenged, because you could have a long-time employee or a whole group of employees and you had to let them go. You had no choice. But what do you do about bringing them back? At what stage do you bring them back? I've talked to many business owners with the challenge of they don't want to lose them to somebody else, so they have to maybe keep their benefits going, or give them some kind of a bonus just to keep, them really, even if they can't use them, keep them on board. I've seen a lot of different things that the business owners have had to be really creative with in order to just really keep their doors or their businesses open and going. And also the other pieces, the public, how is the public and their customer perceiving them? What kind of message are they sending? How are they able to really just, thrive or show that they're still thriving, they're still here? Yeah. That's where marketing has to come in as well, as or some kind of getting the word out so they can have support.
It's so interesting because I can think of about 5 or 6 or 8 different lines of insurance that that you just covered in that brief little revelation of what you're observing. There's so many different types of concerns that a business owner would have just on a regular basis, liability, but now you've got a pandemic and health concerns with PPE and building trust with your employees as well as your clients. So there were also, it came to mind that there would be a line item in there for golden handcuffs for your employees, some type of insurance offering so that your employees don't go somewhere else.
Absolutely. That's been a big subject as well. Because again, think about the layout of each company, and even in the franchise space too. You've got from the franchisors also, but you've got the franchisees, and you have your key employees. How do you keep them going? How do you keep them on board? You might have somebody again who's your right-hand man or right-hand gal. Well, there's ways that you can help them with that by getting key person insurance to protect them, show them, maybe get them extra benefits that you can sign them up for. Like I said, some bonuses as well, just to show that you value them so much. And we've seen also, which has been a really nice silver lining, is many companies have been promoting many of their middle managers up to upper management, again, because, they're recognizing that, look at how hard they're working, and, we need to make sure that they understand that they're valued, and they don't want to go run across the street somewhere else. So there's those areas too.
So one thing that just came to mind here is I know within our networking groups where you and I float, we're mostly talking to the franchise owners. Do you or does Associated work with franchisors who are talking to you about how do we reopen? What are some of the safety measures, and how does that affect the franchise at the franchisor level?
Oh, yes. I mean, there's just, everybody's kind of lost in certain ways, and we need to have our strategic partners. And you and I have talked about that pretty much every single time you and I talk, which is often. But yeah, on the franchisor level, they need to, keep if they have a board or their partners, they have to keep their board and their whoever's, involved with the organization happy and feel comfortable that they're going to be able to keep going. There's got to be a lot of open communication with that. So you run into areas on the insurance side, it's making sure that their D&O and E&O is correct, and or do they have the right information on there in case they have a claim. They can have fiduciary things that come up where or just the simple of you didn't stand up to our contract that we had originally got set up from the beginning. Everybody's kind of in a fluster of just making sure you got to go back and check all your boxes and make sure that everything is okay on the franchisor level, and keep communicating really strongly with your franchisees so they feel lifted up and they feel confident that everything is going to be okay. Really just keeping the lines of communication open.
Were your phones ringing off the hook in March and April as all of this was coming to light?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we're still drinking from a fire hose. I mean, I say this all the time. And there's different reasons and different ways that we're doing that now. But yes, certainly in the first month or two, it was just nonstop. And many companies, as you've seen on the news too, is, what are we going to do? Can we get business interruption insurance? Are we covered for this? And, as most of the carriers did not have that in their policies, but we dug in, and every individual, every client is different. So we literally go in and dig through each and every one of their policies. So really, if someone's broker says, oh no, you're not covered, that's not really the right answer, because once you kind of get into the weeds and you look at it, there's ways that we have found where we've been able to find some coverage for our clients. Okay. So, but it's just a matter of doing your homework.
And so here we are in November of 2020, and every day offers another set of uncertainties rather than certainties. We've just had an election that still is not resolved, more uncertainty there. But with the way that it looks today, that it will become a Biden win, are there any changes that your agency is already positioning, things that you see changing in the future?
Well, we don't go on the trend as much of who, the president is. We're really following very closely the insurance industry and what's going on and benchmarking with that. So we were already seeing before the pandemic upticks in certain coverages that we knew were coming down the pike, such as umbrella policies were blowing up. We were seeing areas of property that were blowing up, as we call it, because of the coastal areas and all of the hurricanes and the floods and the different events that were going on. Also on the driver's side, too, it's been really challenging, more so now, too, with deliveries and drivers in our industry to find the proper coverage for them and knowing the right place to go. So in that vein, I would say the place that's going to impact us the most is on our benefit side, because we have a whole benefits group for medical, all types of medical coverage. So that's where we're kind of always sitting on pins and needles to see what's happening with that. But we work very closely. Our CEO meets with Blue Cross constantly and online, with them, as well as United and all the top carriers. So we're pretty much abreast of all of that information, usually a quarter ahead or more of what's happening. So
you've got,
it'll be interesting to see how it all shakes out in the coming months with that too.
You put out a lot of content to your policyholders and your clients. Part of my last question too is based on the uncertainty, not only of the election, but also the vaccination and seasonality. You were just mentioning some weather related events, which are seasonal. Here we're coming into winter. And I know in our group, we've got business owners who are very concerned about how are they going to make ends meet in the winter months where the cold and yucky weather is going to disrupt the ability for their clientele to come inside, like restaurant owners and et cetera. So it's got to be really a lot of turbulence for some of those owners.
Let me tell you some ways that we've been able to help some of many of our clients, or even people that are just, need suggestions. And we've been very fortunate and blessed in our company specifically, because we have been thriving and we're actually growing. We have grown. We bought another company over the summer and added another 50 employees to our organization. Another company similar on the personal lines, mostly, that they work with, as well as some of the commercial lines. But what we really do is we sit down with the executives, with the business owners, and strategize with them for the next 6 months to a year. And again, it's not just looking at a policy and looking at that. It's not transactional at all. It's like, sit down, what's going on, what are some of your initiatives coming up, and how can we be a problem solver for you? Where are you in safety? Where are you in risk mitigation? Where are you with your employees in mental health? Where are you with helping out with your customers and getting the word out that we're still in business and we're still thriving? And then how can we then be a change agent for them? So some of the ways that we do it is we do go through their policies and make sure that they're properly covered. And it seems so simple, but it's really not that simple, because we're also looking for cost savings for them, and maybe pivoting to some other areas and making sure that maybe you don't need this, but you need that. Maybe this was okay a year ago, but let's try this, because let's face it, nobody wants to be embroiled in lawsuits with their employees or with their customers or anybody out there. But, who's going to support you if something like that occurs? There's also a big, big, big problem now with cyber liability. So again, we had a moratorium with our company, and we have, just all of our clients here and all over the country, going back in through every single one of our clients and sending them cyber proposals. Let's make sure that you have cyber liability. I don't care how much it is, you got to have something.
Yeah.
How can we help with workers' compensation and making sure that you're properly covered there, and categorized? Many companies have actually been able to, as you know, pivot, and they're growing right now because they've become so essential. They don't know what to do. They just don't know how to handle it, and they don't have the time or the inclination to even take a look at that.
And that's been really exciting, I think, in our networking groups as we're talking to these business owners. Obviously, there are some industries that have been deeply impacted to the negative, and some of these business owners may never come back to a viable level. Then we've got the other people, business owners that we're working with, who are seeing 600 to 800% year over year growth, or continued increases month over month as the pandemic wears on, unexpected. And so to your point, they are absolutely overwhelmed with the volume of business that they're doing, which is great. But to your point, there are all these other things that they just don't have the time to think about. And that's where you're such a valued resource.
It's like, you and I, again, have talked about this so many times. You're going to go to a specialist if you have something wrong, a doctor, right? You're going to go to that doctor and you're going to say, oh, I have this symptom, I have this wrong. You're going to go, so we're specialists at what we do. You're a specialist at what you do. Our friends who are the lawyers, who are amazing employment lawyers in the franchise space, are great. That's what they do. They put contracts together. The bankers, we have such a great network, and accounting and the cleaning services. That's what our job is to do, is to be really their trusted advisor. And who do I go to for this? Who do I go to for that? Right? And I cannot tell you how many times I have people calling me and saying, I'm really stuck. I don't know what to do with, I had actually somebody last week with mental health in their office. They have they just feel like things are kind of just ebbing and flowing too much, and they want to get a handle on it. Do you have information that you can send to me? Yes, I do. How can I help you with that? I had somebody who had an issue with harassment and discrimination because they had to furlough a whole group of people. How can we help with that? I'll help you get with that with an employment lawyer, and I'll also help you make sure you've got coverage for that. Okay, so there's so many different ways to look at it, but we've been seeing so much hope in our industry, in this franchise industry. How many people have you talked to as we speak, they are opening new locations today, tomorrow, next week. They're pushing forward. They're going for it. We have our bigger brands, and it doesn't matter what space they're in. They're thriving and hopeful, and we're just putting one step in front of the other.
Yeah, the essential Amazon-proof, recession-proof businesses are just booming right now. It's been so much fun to work with executive recruiters and candidates who are wondering, is now a good time to get into business? And the answer is yes. There's nothing predatory about it. The fact of the matter is that COVID is a real thing. It's impacting people at a very human level. And we want to know that whatever we're going into, retail space or people coming into our homes, that we are all being properly protected. And you and I were talking yesterday about how we end up becoming a trusted resource more on the emotional support level. Our clients or candidates know that we've got our fingers on the pulse and that we're very not only self-aware, but aware of what's going on in the industry, and just how you've become kind of a lifeline for your business owners, a point of reality and levelness and perspective that you've been able to share with them.
Yeah, it seems so crazy and silly, but I always say, and I said to you too, I wish I could put a billboard up and, on all the highways here and even wherever, and how can I help you? Really, that's who we always were. and I always was, and you always were that way. And then even more so now, we just hope that people can see us as that way, taking the personal needs of other people, really seriously. And I would say, the best thing that you can do today, and this is what I try and impart onto anybody, is just reach out to 5 people. It's the easiest thing, or 10 people today. Just say, how are you?
Yeah.
Hope you're doing okay. That's it. And there's nothing better than just having just a regular conversation and just, talking about what they're doing, how, how's the weather, how's your family.
It used to be a topic.
We're having FOMO. Now we're having FOMO because we're in the Midwest, and, I like to talk to people in warm climates. And show me a picture of where you are at, I'll show you mine.
Yeah, you and I were talking yesterday about just how pervasive the fear is, the concern is, and how our conversations that we're having with my candidates who are on top of making a decision about going ahead and moving forward, and is this logical and does it make sense, and how many of those conversations don't really get down to business. We don't get down to the business of making this decision. Or like you were talking about, Rob, and yesterday, talking about everything but business until about the last 3 minutes, because people just need to have that connection to know that what they're doing is the right thing, or that they've got a posse behind them who's going to help them make the right decisions. It's not about business so much, it's relationships.
How about over the summer when we had the backyard gathering with our NIFA group, our Northern Illinois Franchise Association group, and those who can make it. And all of a sudden it was like getting dark out, and we realized it was getting kind of late, and we all missed dinner, and oops, we didn't talk about business at all. And quick, everybody go around for 5 seconds and talk about something, right?
Yeah.
That's how it is,
Great group at the Northern Illinois Franchise Association. That our last meeting in person was March 12th, the day before the writing was on the wall that everything was going to be shut down. I miss being able to get together with the group, but your backyard gathering, it just proof again that as a collective of professionals, we are all people who have a heart for our clients. That's really what drives us, is getting the best results for the people whom we represent, and making sure that they've got, like in your case, all the right coverage at all the right time. And this is a very squiggly, changing environment that we're in. Is there anything, you're talking about like the 3 to 6 months ahead planning, is there anything that Associated is expecting or anticipating is going to be a big deal come January or come April as the seasons change?
Well, we watch really closely, and we have, so many different areas that people that we talk to. Our executives are talking to people all over the country all the time. So we are watching the trends going. And what we do is we try and get on the phone with anybody who wants to talk about it. I'll have our CEO, our president, have a quick chat and tell you, exactly where are the trends going for the next 6 months or so. And so, like I said, some of the things that we have seen because of the shift in business is we will see they're going to, just like they did with the government after 9/11, there was some kind of a form that is required now for every client or every company to sign when you sign a new policy regarding terrorism. We're expecting something to come out in the insurance industry regarding COVID or virus, as far as a whole country moratorium on that. Most likely they won't include that coverage for virus or COVID specifically, but I can really see that they're going to probably try and do some other, changes with their policies and their forms. The other thing that we've been seeing too is a really great, trend again in workers' comp has been staying flat, which is nice. And that's a really important area to look at for companies, especially because if they're able to prove that the employee did get COVID at work, that all of their medical bills are covered for COVID under workers' compensation. So many business owners might not know that, but there's a lot of information that has just come out about that. So I've been trying to push that information out as well. So yeah, it's been very interesting. They're also going to be having something coming out with, I would say in the next year, is really just rules around the way that the employer should be also continuously maintaining and communicating with their employees about PPE and COVID handbooks that they have to sign off on, and just making sure that they have all those processes in place. Because if they don't have that, that could be a big issue because OSHA can get involved with that as well when you're a business owner, and they can come out and check and say, hey, do you have your COVID processes in place? Let me see them. What have you done for your employees? How are you supporting them? This is going to be an ongoing thing that's going to be really pushed to the forefront.
Yeah, I was talking to
one of the things.
Go ahead.
No, those are just some of the things that we've been saying. But as far as the cost, if you're talking about the costs or any kind of changes with coverages, we're just going to keep tracking that with property and whatnot and different, it's hard because the coastal states are very, very challenging. So those of us who have franchises that open in Florida and Texas and even in California with the wildfires, those are just expect that they're not going to get the same exact policy specifically or all of that as they do in the Midwest, or in the middle states. So we always try and educate everybody ahead of time when we start working with them.
And this is what makes insurance so exciting, is that there are like 97 things here that have come up in our conversation of ways that business owners need to evaluate their interactions, their protections, their methodologies, their systems, and make sure that every one of them is being reviewed with someone like you for compliance and accuracy and consistency. This is why I'm glad I'm not in insurance, Julie, because I can't imagine how on a day-to-day basis your life, every conversation is so different because every business owner has such unique needs.
It is so interesting. Every single day is just different, as you know, and we have great teams of people at my company. I don't know, really, I couldn't thrive without them. And I'm not just saying that to be cliche, but we do have different groups for different areas. And we also have leads within our company too, different people that are, more focused in different areas. So that's great. So we all work so closely together and collaborate. I mean, I couldn't do it without them because there's so many different, we have somebody who specializes in real estate, or we have a whole group, a real estate group. We have logistics, we have nonprofit, we have franchising, which is myself, we have private equity firms, we have big groups. We have coin laundry group. We have probably do over 2,000 or 5,000 coin laundries. So somebody specializes in that. We have jewelry. We have races. We have nightclubs. We have restaurants, which is what I do as well. I mean, it's unbelievable. So it's really, and then we have our whole benefits group that handles just employee benefits from anywhere from 2 employees up to thousands. So it's very challenging, but it's very fun.
It's the encyclopedia.
Makes the days go fast.
Yeah, the encyclopedia of knowledge that you have access to. But as the point person, you are a welcoming and full perspective and polite and knowledgeable. And as a point person, I imagine you take a lot of heat, or you just are the receptacle for a lot of emotion that these business owners are, in the face of uncertainty. You're the point person. You're the first point of contact, and they expect you to soothe them down and take care of the situation. So I think you're the perfect person to be in the seat of the point of contact and the face of the business for Associated. If people wanted to get a hold of you based on this conversation, what is the best way for anyone to find Julie Silverman, the commercial insurance lady?
So my email address is jsilverman@associated.cc. So again, it's jsilverman@associated.cc. So
And
that's my email address.
What I can vouch for with Julie is that not only is she a great kitty fur stroker, downer, someone who is going to buoy you back up again, but she's also done a great job with my networking group of business owners, not only making sure that they have accurate policy coverage, but also saving them money over whomever they were insuring with previously. So Julie does a great job, not only personally interacting with people, but professionally saving my business owners money. And so I want to thank you for being part of the show today. And your kitty did not end up meowing during our interview, but it's been great to have you today. So thank you for joining today, Julie.
Thank you so much.